Caution: 9 clear indicators that an evil person is close to you. Buddhist Teachings. Have you ever been in the presence of someone who made you feel unsettled, as if something wasn't quite right? Perhaps their words are sweet, but there's an invisible heaviness that weighs on you, or an energy that leaves you drained. This isn't just your imagination at play. Buddhist wisdom teaches us that our intuition often reveals truths before our rational mind can fully comprehend them. There may be someone in your life right now, someone who hides their ill will behind a facade of kindness, masking intentions that threaten your peace and spiritual path. We often want to believe in the goodness of those around us, but not all intentions are pure. Some individuals bring deceit, negativity, and even harm into our lives, whether they realize it or not. But how do we recognize them? In this video, we will explore 9 clear signs that someone near you may be harboring harmful energy, using Buddhist teachings to sharpen your awareness. These signs may not always be obvious, but if you learn to trust your instincts, you can protect your emotional and spiritual well-being. At the Journey of Wisdom, we are committed to helping you stay mindful on your path to enlightenment. By becoming more attuned to the energies around us, we can safeguard our peace and create a life surrounded by compassion, truth, and harmony. Before we begin, reflect on your relationships. Do you ever feel uneasy or drained in the company of certain people? It might be time to trust those feelings. Stay with us as we uncover the signs and empower you to protect your inner peace. Number 1. Denial and lack of remorse. One clear sign that a deeply negative or harmful person may be close to you is their inability to admit wrongdoing and their complete lack of remorse for the pain they cause. According to the Buddha's teachings, self-reflection and the acknowledgement of one's faults are essential to spiritual growth and the alleviation of suffering. When a person consistently denies responsibility for their actions, they not only deceive others, but also entrap themselves in a cycle of ignorance, delusion, and negative karma. They become disconnected from truth, which is the foundation of compassion and wisdom. This denial manifests itself in various ways, but a common trait is the refusal to accept any blame. When confronted with their harmful behavior, such individuals will often shift the blame onto others or insist they are the misunderstood victim. Rather than reflecting on the damage they have caused, they create a false reality where their actions are justified. This defense mechanism may protect their ego from the discomfort of facing their moral failings, but it also deepens their alienation from others and ultimately from themselves. Lacking remorse compounds this destructive behavior. When their wrongdoings are laid bare, they feel no guilt, sorrow, or desire to make things right. They may even go so far as to justify their actions, convinced that the harm they've done was necessary or deserved. This absence of regret is a glaring sign of a lack of empathy, for it shows that they are either unwilling or incapable of understanding the emotional and psychological impact their actions have on others. As the Buddha said, hatred does not cease by hatred, but only by love. This is the eternal rule. Without remorse, the potential for love, understanding, or reconciliation disappears, leaving only emotional damage in its wake. The long-term effects of being in a relationship with someone who consistently denies responsibility and lacks remorse are devastating. Whether it's a friendship, family connection, or romantic relationship, the refusal to admit fault creates a toxic environment. Trust, which is crucial for any healthy bond, begins to erode. Over time, you realize that no matter the situation, this person will never genuinely apologize or seek to mend what's been broken. This forces you into a position of constant forgiveness and self-sacrifice, while they continue to harm without facing the consequences of their actions. This creates an emotional imbalance where you're left carrying the burden of their unresolved pain, which slowly drains your energy and well-being. Furthermore, in the absence of remorse, there is no healing after conflict. Conflict is natural in any relationship, but growth comes from sincere apologies, mutual understanding, and the willingness to make amends. Without that, relationships stagnate and wounds fester. The person who refuses to admit fault doesn't allow the space for healing to occur, leaving those around them to suffer the lingering effects of unresolved hurt. As the Dalai Lama wisely reminds us, the way to change others' minds is with affection and not anger. This insight teaches us that true reconciliation comes not from deflecting blame, but from owning our mistakes with a heart full of compassion and a willingness to change. Recognizing these patterns of denial and lack of remorse is essential for safeguarding your own emotional health. Pay close attention to how someone responds when confronted with their mistakes. Do they make excuses, dismiss your concerns, or refuse to apologize? If they consistently avoid taking responsibility and never express genuine remorse, it may be time to evaluate whether this relationship is truly beneficial to your well-being. As the Buddha taught, accountability is key to personal growth and harmony in relationships. Without it, there can be no true progress, either as individuals or together. True peace and balance come from the willingness to reflect, admit fault, and make amends. Without this foundation, any relationship will struggle to thrive. Number 2. Lack of compassion. One of the clearest indicators of a negative or harmful person is their lack of compassion. In Buddhist philosophy, compassion stands as one of the highest virtues. It's the essence of our ability to connect with the suffering of others, to act with kindness, and to feel empathy for those around us. Compassion is the invisible thread that binds all living beings, reminding us that we are not isolated in our experiences, but part of a shared human existence. When someone lacks compassion, they cut themselves off from this connection, emotionally and spiritually distancing themselves from those around them. It's as if they have built a wall that prevents them from recognizing the pain or joy of others. They may not offer a hand when someone is struggling, and they might even belittle others for showing emotion, seeing vulnerability as weakness rather than a sign of our shared humanity. A person who lacks compassion operates from a place of self-centeredness, where personal gain or convenience always comes first. They are blind to the needs and feelings of others. In relationships, whether personal or professional, this indifference appears as coldness and insensitivity. Perhaps you've experienced this: a friend or partner who ignores your emotional needs, who fails to acknowledge your struggles, leaving you feeling invisible and unvalued. This behavior creates an imbalance where one person is constantly giving, offering love, care, and support, while the other takes without giving anything in return. Over time, this dynamic erodes trust and connection, causing deep resentment and frustration. On a larger scale, when people lack compassion, it fosters environments of selfishness and division. In such communities, people become so focused on their own concerns that they no longer see the struggles of those around them. The absence of empathy creates a culture of competition and isolation, where kindness is viewed as a burden and the well-being of others is disregarded. The Buddha teaches us that true happiness arises not from serving ourselves, but from serving others with a heart full of compassion. Without this, all that remains is isolation, which feeds negativity and suffering. In the time of the Buddha, there was a powerful story of a wealthy man named Jivaka who had everything he could ever want but lived with a deep sense of loneliness. Despite his riches, he did not show kindness or concern for others, believing that his wealth was proof he didn't need anyone. One day he encountered a poor monk who was suffering from illness, and for the first time he felt a spark of compassion. Against his usual habits, Jivaka cared for the monk, providing him with food and medicine. As he saw the monk recover, Jivaka realized that in helping another, he found a joy he had never experienced through his wealth. The lesson of Jivaka's story is clear. True fulfillment doesn't come from what we take, but from what we give with an open heart. So how can we recognize a lack of compassion in others? Pay attention to how they respond to the emotions of those around them. Do they remain indifferent, or worse, do they criticize others for their feelings? Are they annoyed or inconvenienced when someone expresses vulnerability? These are signs that the person is disconnected from their capacity to care for others. Interacting with such individuals can leave us feeling emotionally drained and spiritually disconnected. It is crucial to protect your peace by surrounding yourself with people who understand the importance of empathy and kindness. Remember, true compassion is not just about what you give, but also about what you allow yourself to receive. As the Buddha teaches, a compassionate heart leads to a life of fulfillment, while a heart closed off from empathy leads only to isolation and suffering. In your own life, how can you nurture compassion for others and yourself? And perhaps more importantly, are you allowing yourself to build relationships with those who value compassion, or are you stuck in the company of those who cannot see beyond themselves? Choose wisely, for your peace and happiness depend on the people you surround yourself with. Number 3. Habit of lying. Lies, whether small or grand, chip away at the trust that holds our relationships together. Trust is a fragile thing, easily shattered by dishonesty, and once broken, it is hard, sometimes impossible to rebuild. The Buddha emphasized the importance of truthfulness as part of right speech, one of the steps on the Noble Eightfold Path. Truth is not just a moral virtue, but a means of creating harmony, understanding, and compassion in our relationships. When someone habitually lies, they stray from this path, weaving a web of deceit that entangles not only themselves, but everyone around them. Imagine how exhausting it is to be constantly questioning the truth in someone's words, to wonder if what they are saying reflects reality or is simply another manipulation to serve their own needs. The Buddha once said, "3 things cannot be long hidden: the sun, the moon, and the truth," reminding us that lies will eventually come to light. But by the time they do, the damage, like a stone eroded by water, may be too great to repair. Consider someone in your life who lies often, whether it's in small ways or larger, more harmful ones. How does that make you feel? Does it leave you second-guessing their motives and questioning your own perceptions? In Buddhist teachings, mindfulness is crucial for maintaining peace within ourselves and with others. But how can we remain mindful when we're in a state of constant vigilance, trying to separate fact from fiction? Lies create tension, unease, and uncertainty, which erodes our emotional and mental energy. Over time, the effects of being around a habitual liar can be devastating. You might start doubting yourself, wondering if you're overreacting or misjudging the situation. This emotional drain can lead to greater suffering, both for the liar and for those they deceive. Lying is not just about the words spoken, it's a deliberate disruption of the peace and harmony that should exist in all our interactions. Every lie, no matter how small, is a crack in the foundation of a relationship. The more cracks there are, the weaker the relationship becomes, until one day it crumbles altogether. Trust, once lost, is hard to regain, and just as water slowly wears down the hardest rock, The constant stream of lies gradually destroys the trust that took years to build. In the end, the one who lies often suffers the most, caught in a cycle of dishonesty that pulls them further away from true happiness and connection with others. So, what can you do if you recognize this behavior in someone close to you? The first step is to protect your own peace of mind. Approach the situation with compassion and truth, but be mindful of your well-being. If someone continues to lie despite your attempts to address the issue, it may be time to consider stepping back from that relationship. Remember, the Buddha taught that our spiritual well-being depends on surrounding ourselves with people who embody honesty, kindness, and respect. Without these qualities, no relationship, whether personal or professional, can withstand the test of time. Is it better to stay entangled in a web of deceit, or to walk the path alone with your integrity intact? Ultimately, it is better to seek out relationships that uplift and nurture your soul, rather than ones that drain and diminish your inner peace. Lies may provide temporary comfort for the person telling them, but in the end, they lead to suffering for all involved. Trust in the wisdom of the Buddha and the power of truth, and you will find peace on your journey, even if it means letting go of those whose words can no longer be trusted. How much of your peace are you willing to sacrifice for the comfort of someone else's dishonesty? If you've watched this far, you're already taking steps to protect yourself from the harmful influences of toxic individuals. Comment below with "protected path" to affirm your awareness and commitment to living a life of wisdom and peace. Don't go anywhere. There are still valuable insights ahead that can help you identify and distance yourself from negative energy. Stay until the end to fully understand how to safeguard your well-being with these powerful Buddhist teachings. Number 4. Lack of responsibility. A person who consistently avoids taking responsibility for their actions and shifts blame onto others demonstrates one of the clearest indicators of a harmful or even evil character. In the teachings of Buddhism, responsibility for our actions, whether through thought, speech, or behavior, is a fundamental principle. Every action leaves an imprint on our karma, shaping the reality of not only our present life, but also the lives that will follow. When an individual refuses to accept responsibility for their wrongdoings, they harm not only others, but also themselves, deepening layers of negative karma. As the Buddha said, "You are your own master, you make your future." Those who deflect responsibility may seem harmless at first, but over time, their refusal to be accountable for their actions sows discord, emotional turmoil, and destruction in their relationships. This trait often appears in people who consistently portray themselves as victims, even when they are the ones at fault. They skillfully manipulate situations to shift the blame onto others, always finding convenient scapegoats when things go wrong. Rather than engage in self-reflection or growth, they deflect, accuse, and avoid any ownership of their part in conflicts or mistakes. This is an emotional trap, one that can be profoundly damaging to those close to them. In the workplace, for instance, imagine having a colleague who consistently blames external factors like traffic, technology failures, or co-workers whenever they miss deadlines. Such a person can drain the emotional and mental energy of those around them, creating an atmosphere of frustration and helplessness. In friendships or romantic relationships, this lack of responsibility can lead to similar exhaustion, as they may blame you for misunderstandings or arguments, even when they are clearly the cause. Over time, their constant blame shifting erodes your self-confidence and can even make you question your sense of reality. The emotional manipulation that arises from this irresponsibility is subtle yet profoundly damaging. By refusing to acknowledge their faults, Such individuals unfairly place the burden of their mistakes on others. This manipulation can have a significant psychological impact, leading you to question your actions, decisions, and worth. It creates a cloud of doubt and confusion, where you might find yourself asking, "Am I really at fault here?" even when you're not. This mental burden can lead to frustration, resentment, and eventually, emotional burnout. As the Buddha wisely taught, peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. Yet, when we are constantly exposed to individuals who refuse to take responsibility, achieving that inner peace becomes increasingly difficult. Their behavior can cloud our path to clarity and contentment. Recognizing this pattern of behavior is the first step toward protecting yourself. Pay attention to how someone reacts when things don't go as planned. Do they admit their mistakes, or do they quickly deflect the blame onto others? Are they constantly shifting the focus away from their own actions? These are clear signs that this person lacks the integrity and emotional maturity necessary for accountability. Accountability, after all, is a key marker of self-awareness, which is essential for personal growth. The Buddha's teachings remind us that true peace and enlightenment come from understanding our actions and taking responsibility for them. He said, "No one saves us but ourselves. No one can, and no one may. We ourselves must walk the path." This reminds us that those who refuse to take accountability for their lives are stagnating on their spiritual journey, creating suffering for both themselves and others. When dealing with such individuals, it is important to set strong boundaries. While Buddhism encourages compassion, it also teaches us to protect our mental and emotional well-being. As you practice compassion, you must not allow someone else's toxic behavior to drag you down or disrupt your inner peace. Establish clear limits, and don't be afraid to distance yourself from those who consistently refuse to take responsibility. Surround yourself with people who practice honesty, self-reflection, and accountability, as these are the qualities that align with the path to enlightenment. By doing so, you create a space in your life that is conducive to peace, growth, and positive karma, rather than one filled with unnecessary emotional turmoil. Ultimately, the path to well-being is not just about kindness to others, but also kindness to yourself, ensuring you are surrounded by those who uplift rather than tear you down. Number 5. Pleasure in others' pain. One of the clearest and most unsettling signs of an evil person is their disturbing pleasure in the suffering of others. Instead of feeling compassion or a desire to help those in distress, these individuals find joy in pain, chaos, and misfortune. This behavior is the opposite of what the Buddha taught. While the Buddha emphasized empathy and kindness, these people are driven by a darker desire to feed off negativity. When someone enjoys the suffering of others, it signals a deep disconnect from the core truth of interdependence, a fundamental Buddhist principle that teaches all beings are connected. Have you ever considered how deeply we are all intertwined, and how the suffering of one being ultimately affects us all? In Buddhism, the practice of metta, or loving kindness, is essential for developing spiritual wisdom. To genuinely wish for the happiness and well-being of others is to walk the path of compassion. Those who take pleasure in others' pain walk in the opposite direction. Not only do they hurt the people around them, but they also harm themselves. The Buddha taught that actions driven by hatred or cruelty will come back to us, creating negative karma. As the saying goes, hatred does not cease by hatred, but only by love. This is the eternal rule. These individuals unknowingly set themselves up for a cycle of suffering that will inevitably return to them. Often, this delight in pain isn't always openly expressed. It hides behind subtle actions. Perhaps they spread gossip or encourage conflict just to see others struggle. You might notice that instead of offering support, they smirk or make sarcastic comments when someone is in pain. This behavior reveals a deep emotional void where empathy should be. These people thrive in environments of chaos, using manipulation and deceit to create situations where suffering can grow. It's important to ask yourself, when you see someone in pain, do you feel an urge to help, or do you stand by? How someone reacts to the suffering of others is a powerful indicator of their true nature. To protect yourself from these harmful influences, it's vital to be mindful of how people around you react to others' distress. Do they offer compassion and a helping hand, or do they seem indifferent, or worse, amused? Do they escalate conflicts, pushing others into deeper suffering for their own amusement? These are dangerous signs that the person lacks empathy, and such relationships can be toxic. The Buddha's teachings remind us to surround ourselves with those who uplift us, not those who drag us into suffering. We must distance ourselves from people who feed on pain and negativity. Instead, seek those whose presence is marked by kindness and generosity. However, distancing yourself doesn't mean responding with hatred. Buddhism guides us to practice compassion even toward those who cause harm, but compassion doesn't mean allowing yourself to be hurt. If someone takes pleasure in your pain or the pain of others, it is important to set boundaries and remove yourself from their toxic influence. Protect your emotional well-being and ensure that you cultivate peace, not just for yourself, but for those around you. The Buddha taught that our life is shaped by our mind. We become what we think. If we are surrounded by negativity and cruelty, it's easy to be pulled into that mindset. But by recognizing the signs of those who enjoy suffering and choosing to stay grounded in kindness and compassion, we can protect our peace and align with the Dharma, the path of wisdom and truth. What choices will you make today to protect your peace and nurture the compassion that connects us all? Number 6. Feeling strange when around them. Have you ever been in the presence of someone who, without any obvious reason, makes you feel uneasy? That subtle discomfort is not something to dismiss as just nerves or overthinking. It is, in fact, a deeply rooted instinct that we often overlook in the rush of modern life. In Buddhist teachings, the connection between mind and body is paramount, and the intuition we experience, often referred to as our sixth sense, serves as a powerful indicator of the energies we encounter. As we go through life, we are constantly interacting with the energies of others, and sometimes those energies can be harmful or disruptive to our inner peace. When you experience a sense of unease around someone, it's essential to pause and consider why. While our logical mind may try to brush it aside, the discomfort you feel is your body's way of alerting you to something being out of balance, possibly due to the other person's energy or intentions. The Buddha taught that mindfulness, or sati, goes beyond just our internal thoughts and actions. It extends to our awareness of the people and environments that surround us. This feeling of discomfort could stem from many factors. Sometimes people harbor negative intentions, which may not be immediately visible. They may seem friendly or kind on the surface, but their true nature is masked. Their inner turmoil or harmful intentions leak through in subtle ways, and your body senses this before your mind fully understands it. As the Buddha wisely said, the mind is everything. What you think, you become. This quote reminds us that the mind's influence is powerful, not just over our actions, but over the energy we project. People who carry toxic energy can affect us even when their negativity isn't overtly visible. Their internal state, their unresolved emotions, manipulative tendencies, or harmful desires manifests as an energy that interacts with yours, creating that sense of anxiety or dread. It's crucial to acknowledge and trust these feelings. As the Buddha emphasized, believe nothing, no matter where you read it or who has said it, unless it agrees with your own reason and your own common sense. In other words, trust your own perceptions. Your intuition is often the first line of defense against harmful influences, alerting you long before your conscious mind catches on. In modern life, where we're often taught to ignore our feelings in favor of logic and reason, this can be difficult. But in Buddhism, cultivating sati, a deep awareness and mindfulness, means recognizing when someone's presence is disrupting your inner peace. If you constantly feel drained, anxious, or uneasy around someone, it's a signal that their energy is not aligned with your well-being. In many cases, people who make us feel this way aren't even aware of the harm they're causing. They may be battling their own demons, anger, insecurity, jealousy, that even though hidden, seep out and affect those around them. But whether their negative energy is intentional or unconscious, your discomfort is a message from your intuition that shouldn't be ignored. As the Dalai Lama once said, do not let the behavior of others destroy your inner peace. Sometimes maintaining your peace means creating distance from those who disrupt it. This doesn't mean you should harbor ill will or hatred toward them. Rather, it's about protecting your own well-being. Compassion for others is important, but so is self-compassion. You are allowed to prioritize your mental and emotional health, and sometimes that means stepping back from relationships that feel toxic or draining. In life, we encounter many types of people, and not all of them will align with our journey of inner peace. Pay attention to how people make you feel, and don't be afraid to set boundaries. Your well-being is too valuable to be compromised by someone else's negativity. As the Buddha taught, health is the greatest gift, contentment the greatest wealth, faithfulness the best relationship. Protect your inner harmony by honoring the signals your body and mind send you, and don't be afraid to remove yourself from situations that disturb your peace. The unease you feel is a gift, an indicator that something in the relationship or the environment needs to change for the sake of your own well-being. If you're still watching, you're well on your way to mastering how to protect your energy from harmful people. Comment Wisdom Shield below to show your dedication to using these Buddhist teachings to create a peaceful life. Don't miss the final part of the video where we'll reveal the key insights that can help you maintain your emotional well-being. Number 7. Manipulation and control. One of the clearest signs that an individual with negative energy is near you is their deep desire to manipulate and control those around them. While some harmful behaviors can be more obvious, manipulation often sneaks into our lives unnoticed, creating destruction before we even realize it. In Buddhist teachings, non-attachment is a central principle that reminds us to let go of our desire to control others or even situations, allowing life to unfold naturally. But a manipulative person does the exact opposite. They seek to exert control not just over their own lives, but over your thoughts, emotions, and even actions. They create an atmosphere where their influence overshadows your autonomy. Have you ever felt like someone is quietly guiding your decisions, not through open conversation, but through hidden tactics? This is the core of manipulation, and it's critical to recognize. Manipulation can appear in many forms: guilt-tripping, emotional blackmail, or the constant feeling that you owe someone something. It can even come disguised as kindness. A manipulative person may act as though they deeply care about your well-being, but underneath that concern is an attempt to twist your will into aligning with their own desires. They might offer favors or generosity that seem genuine, but later reveal their true intent: to make you feel indebted to them. Once you feel that obligation, they begin to control your choices. Reflect for a moment. Have you ever done something not because it felt right to you, but because you were afraid of disappointing someone else, or out of guilt they placed in your mind? These are the quiet tools of manipulation, where kindness becomes a weapon, and your decisions no longer feel like your own. Over time, these actions can have a profound impact on your self-worth. You might begin to question your own judgment, second-guess your decisions, and even doubt the validity of your own feelings. A manipulative person thrives in this uncertainty because the more you doubt yourself, the more reliant you become on their guidance. In this way, they create a cycle of dependence. This behavior goes directly against the wisdom of the Buddha, who teaches that true strength comes not from controlling others, but from mastering one's own mind. A manipulative person, however, is often driven by fear. Fear of losing control, fear of being exposed for who they truly are, or fear of their own inadequacies. A manipulator's constant effort to control others reveals their inner turmoil and lack of mastery over themselves. The first step in breaking free from manipulation is recognizing it for what it is. Are there people in your life who frequently use guilt or coercion to get what they want? Do they make you feel as though your choices are never truly your own? Do you find yourself acting in ways that don't align with your true intentions, simply to please them? These are clear indicators that someone is attempting to control you. Reflect on this. How often do you find yourself acting not out of your own free will, but out of a sense of obligation or fear of someone's reaction? These manipulative patterns slowly drain your emotional energy, leaving you feeling confused, lost, and disconnected from your own inner wisdom. The impact of manipulation is not only emotional, but also spiritual. It disrupts your ability to form authentic, meaningful relationships and blocks the natural flow of peace and mindfulness in your life. In Buddhism, we are taught to walk the middle path, a life guided by balance, compassion, and wisdom. Manipulation is a serious deviation from this path, leading to a cycle of control and dependence that robs you of your freedom. By clinging to control, the manipulator disrupts the harmony that is so essential to living a life in tune with the Dharma. So, how can you protect yourself from manipulation? Start by setting firm boundaries. Recognize that your worth is not tied to anyone else's approval or the control they attempt to exert over you. Learn to distance yourself from those who seek to manipulate your thoughts, actions, or emotions. Surround yourself with people who respect your independence and encourage you to grow according to your own path. As the Buddha wisely said, you yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. You have the right to make decisions that honor your well-being and freedom, without the cloud of someone else's manipulation hanging over you. In your life, do you feel free to follow your own path, or do you feel the weight of another's control pressing down on you? Recognizing manipulation is the first step toward reclaiming your power, and from there, you can walk the middle path with peace and confidence. Number 8. Cruelty. Cruelty is one of the clearest and most disturbing indicators of a person lost in negativity. It reveals itself through actions that aim to hurt, degrade, or cause suffering, and it often stems from deep-seated malice or unresolved pain. What is particularly alarming about cruelty is how it shows an utter disregard for life, often extending beyond humans to animals and other vulnerable beings. The Buddha taught the principle of ahimsa, non-violence, as a cornerstone of spiritual practice. Harming another, whether it's physical violence, emotional abuse, or even neglect, plants the seeds of negative karma. Just as a poisonous tree grows from a toxic seed, cruelty inevitably returns to those who perpetuate it. This cycle of harm reinforces their suffering, but this does not lessen the suffering they inflict upon others. Cruelty can wear many masks, some of them deceptively subtle. It can show up as direct physical harm, or it might take the form of biting sarcasm, passive-aggressive comments, or manipulative behavior that chips away at a person's sense of self-worth. In all its forms, cruelty stems from a place of darkness. Those who cause harm often do so because they are trapped in ignorance, not realizing they are perpetuating their own misery. However, their ignorance does not excuse their actions. A person who delights in the suffering of others, whether by word or deed, is disconnected from the light of compassion that binds us all. One of the most chilling aspects of cruelty is indifference. A cruel person may watch others suffer and feel nothing. No empathy, no guilt, no desire to alleviate the pain. They might even laugh or justify their actions by saying the victim deserved it. This lack of empathy reveals the core of cruelty, a profound absence of connection with the suffering of others. The Buddha taught that all living beings are interconnected, and to harm one is to harm the whole. When someone is indifferent to the suffering of animals, children, or the vulnerable, it reflects a deep callousness that can be a warning sign of greater harm to come. As Mahatma Gandhi wisely said, the greatness of a nation and its moral progress can be judged by the way its animals are treated. Those who are cruel to animals are often capable of even greater cruelty to people. In relationships, cruelty often results in deep emotional scars. The victim may feel powerless, belittled, and even dehumanized as the cruel person feeds off their pain. The Buddha's teachings on compassion emphasize that animals too deserve kindness and care, and cruelty toward them reveals a dangerous disregard for life itself. This is why, in many Buddhist teachings, cruelty to animals is seen as a warning sign, a precursor to cruelty towards people. Those who harm the defenseless are often disconnected from their own capacity for love and empathy. Recognizing cruelty can be difficult, especially when it's masked by charm or manipulation. But by paying close attention to how someone treats those less powerful than themselves, whether it be animals, children, or vulnerable individuals, you can gain a true understanding of their nature. Responding to cruelty is a challenge that requires both strength and wisdom. It may be tempting to retaliate, to respond to cruelty with cruelty. But the Buddha's path offers us a more enlightened approach. Instead of engaging in the cycle of harm, we are called to set clear boundaries and, where necessary, walk away. Protecting yourself from a person who delights in causing pain does not mean becoming like them. In fact, the best response is to lead by example, showing compassion even in the face of cruelty. Holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die, the Buddha said. By choosing not to engage, you protect your own peace while refusing to add to the negativity. It is important to remember that while you can encourage someone toward greater compassion, it is not your responsibility to change them. Your primary responsibility is your own well-being. Surround yourself with kindness and choose compassion in every interaction. Just as a lotus grows beautifully even in the mud, so too can you rise above cruelty by staying rooted in love and kindness. Walk away from those who spread pain and focus on those who bring light to your life. Through compassion, you not only uplift yourself, but also contribute to a world where cruelty has no place. In the end, it is through love, not retaliation, that we find true peace. Number 9. Warnings from friends and family. When those closest to you, your friends and family, express concerns about someone in your life, it's important not to dismiss their warnings lightly. Think about it. These are people who know you deeply and care about your well-being. They see things you might miss, especially when emotions, attachment, or even love cloud your judgment. It's not always easy to see a situation clearly when you're right in the middle of it, and this is exactly why the Buddha taught that cultivating wisdom requires discernment. Part of that discernment comes from trusting the insights of those who care for you. Friends and family often observe from the outside without the emotional biases that might blind us. They can see patterns in behavior, things like manipulation, dishonesty, or cruelty, that you might overlook or rationalize because of your connection to the person in question. Sometimes, when someone is charming or seemingly harmless, it's easy to dismiss the red flags. But the people who love you, who have known you for years, are in a unique position to offer a perspective rooted in care and concern. Do you ever find yourself questioning their concerns, brushing them off because the person you're involved with seems fine to you? It's in these moments that their outside perspective can be invaluable. The Buddha once said, "Better than 1,000 hollow words is one word that brings peace." Sometimes that word of peace comes from a warning given with love. Friends and family may have noticed changes in you. Perhaps you've become more anxious, more withdrawn, or simply not yourself. They may sense that the person in your life is pulling you away from your path of peace and compassion. Their warnings come not from judgment, but from their intuition, observation, and their desire to protect you. How often have you ignored these signs, only to realize later that they were right? Taking a moment to pause and consider their warnings is an act of mindfulness. It gives you the space to reflect on your relationship with more clarity, to step back and observe without the cloud of emotion. This is crucial because toxic individuals often isolate their victims by sowing seeds of doubt and confusion, making you dependent on them emotionally. If you ignore the voices of those who care for you, you may find yourself further isolated, losing the very support system that could have helped you navigate the situation. In the Buddhist tradition, we are reminded not to trust blindly, but to use our own wisdom and reasoning to discern the truth. This means also considering the perspectives of those we trust, for they may see what we cannot. Listening to the concerns of your loved ones doesn't mean you have to cut ties with the person they're worried about right away. Instead, it's about reflecting deeply on their concerns. Ask yourself, if multiple people who genuinely care about you are raising the same alarm, isn't that a strong signal that something might be off? Their intentions are not to control you, but to protect you from harm. Their caution comes from love. Ultimately, as the Buddha taught, wise counsel is one of the most precious gifts we can receive on our journey toward enlightenment. Surrounding yourself with people who uplift you, who are aligned with your values, is essential for maintaining your inner peace. If those closest to you are raising concerns about someone in your life, take their warnings to heart. Their insights may be the very thing that saves you from future pain, guiding you back toward the path of wisdom and compassion. Are you open to hearing the truth, even when it's difficult? Can you trust those who love you enough to consider their concerns, even when your emotions tell you otherwise? These are the questions we must ask ourselves on our path to greater wisdom and peace. Thank you for joining us in today's video on the signs of negativity around us. It's truly a pleasure to have you as part of our growing community. If this content resonated with you, or you've experienced something similar, please share your thoughts in the comments. If you're new here, feel free to introduce yourself by saying, "I am new." Or if you've been with us for some time, comment, "I seek wisdom." Your engagement not only strengthens our connection, but also motivates us to continue sharing these teachings. Let's keep walking this path of wisdom together, shall we? How to protect yourself from negative energies and toxic people using Buddhist teachings. Have you ever walked away from an encounter feeling completely drained, like someone's negativity just seeped into your spirit? It's more common than we think. Certain people can carry an energy that disrupts our peace, sometimes without us even realizing it. But here's the good news. Buddhist teachings provide powerful, time-tested wisdom for protecting your mind, heart, and soul from these toxic influences. With the practices of mindfulness, compassion, and non-attachment, you can create a shield around your well-being, allowing you to navigate even the most difficult relationships with grace and peace. Now, we're diving deep into how you can harness Buddhist wisdom to protect yourself from negativity and stay rooted in calm, ready to reclaim your serenity and thrive. Let's get started. 1. Practice mindfulness. To protect yourself from negative energies and toxic people, practicing mindfulness is one of the most powerful tools you can cultivate. Mindfulness, in its essence, allows you to become more aware of your internal and external world, offering a shield against the negativity that others may bring. One essential practice is mindfulness meditation, which serves as a gateway to recognizing your thoughts and emotions in a non-reactive way. By consistently meditating, you can train your mind to observe situations as they unfold, giving you the clarity and composure to remain unaffected by toxic behaviors or harmful energies that might otherwise disturb your peace. As Thich Nhat Hanh, a renowned Vietnamese Zen master, once said, "Feelings come and go like clouds in a windy sky. Conscious breathing is my anchor." This quote reminds us that through mindfulness, we can learn to anchor ourselves amidst the storms of negativity, letting toxic emotions pass by without clinging to them. When you're centered, you're less likely to be swayed by the destructive energies of others. Another critical aspect of mindfulness is awareness of your surroundings. In today's fast-paced world, we often neglect to notice the environments we immerse ourselves in and the people we allow into our personal space. You become the company you keep, so it's crucial to be selective about the people you spend time with. If you surround yourself with individuals who consistently exude negativity, their energy can easily seep into your mind and spirit. Instead, make it a habit to seek out positive, supportive environments where kindness and understanding prevail. Avoid situations and places where negative energy tends to flourish, such as environments where gossip, cynicism, or aggression are common. Buddha himself taught, "An insincere and evil friend is more to be feared than a wild beast. A wild beast may wound your body, but an evil friend will wound your mind." This wisdom reminds us that the people we associate with can deeply influence our mental and emotional well-being, making it essential to practice discernment when choosing our social circles. In modern life, it can be easy to get caught up in daily stresses and ignore the warning signs of toxic environments or relationships. For many men between the ages of 30 to 65, responsibilities such as work, family, and social commitments often take precedence over self-care, leading to a neglect of personal boundaries. However, by practicing mindfulness in both meditation and in daily life, you can sharpen your ability to detect negative energy before it infiltrates your peace. This heightened awareness is a form of self-protection, allowing you to navigate through life's challenges with grace and stability. In the workplace, for example, being mindful of your interactions can help you maintain professionalism even in the face of negativity, while in personal relationships, mindfulness can provide the insight needed to set boundaries with those who drain your energy. Through mindfulness, you can cultivate a mind that is like calm water, able to reflect everything around it clearly without being disturbed by the ripples of external forces. The key is to remain present, aware, and centered so that toxic energies and people can no longer destabilize you. By embracing this practice, you reclaim control over your emotional landscape, ensuring that peace becomes a permanent state within you, regardless of the chaos that may exist outside. As the Buddha wisely taught, peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. This teaching serves as a reminder that the power to protect ourselves from negativity is always within reach when we practice mindfulness, make conscious choices about our surroundings, and stay grounded in the present moment. 2. Cultivate compassion and loving kindness, metta. In life, we all encounter negativity, whether it's toxic people, challenging environments, or simply the weight of stress from our daily lives. One of the most powerful ways to protect yourself from these negative energies is through the practice of compassion and loving kindness, a central teaching in Buddhism known as metta-o. It's easy to get caught up in frustration, anger, or defensiveness when faced with someone who constantly drains your energy. But what if you could transform your reaction to them by cultivating a heart full of compassion? Through loving kindness meditation, you can send thoughts of love, kindness, and goodwill, not just to yourself and the people you cherish, but also to those who may bring negativity into your life. This practice is simple, yet incredibly profound. You begin by focusing on yourself, silently repeating, "May I be happy, may I be well, may I be safe, may I be at peace." Once you've filled yourself with this intention, you gradually extend these same wishes to others, to your loved ones, to neutral people, and even to those who challenge you the most. As you practice this more, you'll find that your sense of calm and inner peace becomes much more resilient, no matter the negativity that might come your way. However, it's important to remember that toxic people often behave the way they do because they are suffering in some way. When you look deeper, behind the layers of aggression or negativity, there's often pain, insecurity, or fear. It's like the story of the Buddha and Angulimala, the feared bandit who terrorized villages, murdering countless people. When the Buddha came across Angulimala, instead of running away or responding with anger, he remained calm. He understood that Angulimala's violence was driven by his own deep suffering. The Buddha's unwavering compassion eventually transformed the bandit's heart, leading him to renounce his violent ways and become a monk. This story teaches us that responding to negativity with compassion doesn't just protect our own peace, but can also change the hearts of others. So, when someone brings toxicity into your life, pause and ask yourself, what is this person struggling with? What pain might they be experiencing that is causing them to act this way? By viewing others with this sense of understanding, you create a protective layer around yourself. Their negativity no longer sticks to you because you aren't absorbing it. You're meeting it with compassion. In moments when you feel overwhelmed by others' toxic behavior, take a deep breath and remind yourself that their negativity is not yours to carry. You can let it pass by without letting it enter your heart. Ask yourself, how can I maintain my peace in this situation? Or, what can I do to offer kindness here? This mindset doesn't mean you have to tolerate harmful behavior, but it does empower you to respond from a place of strength and compassion rather than fear or anger. In the end, protecting yourself from negative energies is less about avoiding toxic people and more about strengthening your own inner resilience. Compassion, as Buddha taught, is a powerful shield. It allows you to maintain your peace, see others through a lens of empathy, and cultivate loving kindness no matter the challenges you face. As you walk this path, the more you give love, the more you protect yourself from negativity. Remember, compassion is not just a gift you offer to others, it is also a profound form of self-care. So, The next time someone's energy feels toxic or heavy, take a moment to reflect. How can I respond with kindness? How can I protect my own peace while seeing the suffering that lies behind their actions? The lesson here is clear. True protection from negativity lies in cultivating an open heart filled with compassion for yourself and for all beings around you. 3. Set boundaries with compassion. Setting boundaries with compassion is a powerful practice rooted deeply in Buddhist wisdom, helping you protect your own energy while still maintaining kindness toward others. Often, when we face toxic individuals or challenging relationships, we feel torn between showing compassion and ensuring our own well-being. However, Buddhism teaches us that the two can coexist. Compassion doesn't mean allowing others to walk all over us or drain our energy. In fact, one of the most compassionate things you can do for yourself and others is to set clear boundaries. Protecting your energy is not an act of selfishness, it's an act of self-care. Just as you wouldn't allow someone to come into your home and damage your belongings, you should guard your inner space from negativity. The Buddha said, "You, yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection." This quote reminds us that we must prioritize our own peace and happiness, and setting boundaries is a way of honoring that. But how can we set these boundaries without losing our sense of compassion? The key lies in how we approach the situation. Instead of reacting with frustration or anger, approach the person with understanding, but with a firm stance. It's essential to remember that compassion is not about accepting harmful behavior. It's about wishing well for others, while also wishing well for yourself. For instance, if someone's actions continuously hurt you, calmly letting them know how their behavior affects you is an act of both honesty and kindness. You're giving them an opportunity to reflect on their actions while also preserving your well-being. In this way, you are following the Buddhist principle of right speech, which encourages speaking truthfully, helpfully, and without malice. At the same time, if the person does not respect the boundaries you've set, it's okay to distance yourself. Distance does not mean disconnection from compassion. It means you're choosing to protect your energy, and in doing so, you're better able to offer kindness to others without draining yourself. Another important lesson from Buddhism is the wisdom to know when to walk away. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself and others is to let go. Holding on to toxic relationships or environments can cloud your mind, causing you to stray from your path to peace. Walking away doesn't mean you carry resentment or anger with you. Rather, you acknowledge that staying in the situation no longer serves your spiritual growth. The Buddha once said, "Attachment leads to suffering." When you release the attachment to toxic people or situations, you free yourself from the suffering that comes with clinging to something harmful. Ask yourself, am I holding on to this relationship out of fear or obligation, or is it truly nourishing my spirit? This kind of reflection allows you to determine when it's time to gently step away. Walking away also gives you the chance to reflect on your own needs and growth. Every experience, even negative ones, teaches us something valuable about ourselves. By stepping back, you create space for clarity, healing, and the positive energies you deserve to invite into your life. Can you imagine how peaceful your mind will be when it's no longer weighed down by toxic energies? This is not about abandoning others or being unkind. It's about recognizing when a relationship is no longer aligned with your spiritual journey. Buddhism emphasizes the importance of equanimity, a balanced mind that is neither too attached nor too aversive to life's experiences. By walking away with peace in your heart, you embody equanimity, understanding that the relationship served its purpose and it's time to move forward. So, I invite you to reflect on your own life. Are there situations or people you need to set boundaries with? Are there areas where you feel your energy is being drained? And if so, how can you approach those situations with compassion while still honoring your own needs? Setting boundaries with love and walking away when necessary are essential steps toward maintaining your inner peace and spiritual well-being. After all, you are responsible for the energy you bring into the world, and the more you protect your own energy, the more you can share your kindness and compassion with others. 4. Practice non-attachment. One of the most powerful tools for protecting yourself from negative energies and toxic people is the practice of non-attachment. In Buddhist teachings, attachment is often seen as the root of suffering because it ties us to expectations, desires, and the outcomes we cannot control. Toxic relationships are no different. They frequently arise from the deep attachments we form, whether to people, outcomes, or the roles we think others should play in our lives. By practicing non-attachment, we allow ourselves to step back from this reliance on others for our happiness and fulfillment, making it easier to distance ourselves from harmful influences. As the Buddha once said, "You only lose what you cling to." This simple yet profound truth teaches us that freedom comes when we release the need to hold on to things or people, especially when they bring us more harm than good. Letting go of attachments does not mean shutting down emotionally or becoming indifferent. Rather, it is about cultivating an awareness that clinging too tightly to people and expectations only amplifies our suffering. When we loosen our grip, we create space for personal growth and inner peace. For men who are often taught to be the fixers in life, whether fixing problems in relationships, work, or family, this concept can be challenging but deeply transformative. Non-attachment allows you to focus more on your well-being and personal journey instead of being caught in the whirlwind of other people's negative emotions or toxic behavior. It's about reclaiming your power, knowing that your peace does not depend on someone else's validation, approval, or behavior. Moreover, non-attachment extends beyond letting go of relationships. It's also about releasing your ego's desire to control or change others. The ego often convinces us that if we push hard enough, we can change toxic people, fix their behavior, or make them treat us the way we want. However, trying to control others is not only exhausting, but also fruitless. As the Dalai Lama wisely noted, do not let the behavior of others destroy your inner peace. Letting go of the ego's grip allows you to maintain your peace, even when faced with negativity. It enables you to see toxic behaviors for what they are, expressions of that person's internal struggle, not a reflection of your worth. By practicing detachment, you allow their negativity to flow past you like water around a stone. It doesn't mean you ignore what's happening, but you choose not to internalize it. You become more mindful, able to observe without getting pulled into the drama. In today's world, where we are constantly bombarded by external pressures and toxic behaviors, from social media negativity to difficult people at work or in our personal lives, this practice of non-attachment is more relevant than ever. It gives you the tools to maintain your equilibrium in an environment that may often feel chaotic or draining. Consider modern relationships, for instance. Many men face immense pressure to conform to societal expectations, whether as providers, leaders, or protectors. These roles often come with attachments to how others perceive you or how successful you should be in others' eyes. Practicing non-attachment can help break these mental chains. By detaching from the ego's need for control, you learn to navigate these pressures without losing yourself in them. You prioritize inner peace and self-respect over external validation, which is key to protecting yourself from toxic influences. Here are some practical ways to cultivate non-attachment in your life. Shift your perspective. When dealing with difficult people, try to view their behavior as a reflection of their own internal struggles rather than something aimed at you. Often, their negativity is rooted in their suffering, and it's not something you are responsible for fixing. This perspective helps you detach emotionally from their actions, allowing you to maintain your peace. Let go of the need for approval. Toxic people can often make us feel inadequate or crave their approval, whether they are family members, colleagues, or friends. However, seeking validation from others can keep us stuck in toxic dynamics. Practicing non-attachment means releasing the need for others to validate your worth. As you cultivate inner strength and self-love, you become less vulnerable to their influence. Release expectations. Often, we become upset or drained by others because we expect them to behave in a certain way or meet our standards of kindness and respect. When they don't, we feel hurt or disappointed. By releasing these expectations, you free yourself from unnecessary suffering. Instead of expecting others to change, focus on accepting them as they are, while still setting healthy boundaries to protect your energy. Practice detachment in daily life. Incorporate small practices of non-attachment in your daily routine. For example, if you're in a situation where someone's negativity is affecting you, take a few deep breaths. Remind yourself that their energy does not define you, and visualize their negativity passing by like clouds in the sky. This mental practice can help you remain centered and detached in the face of toxic behavior. Focus on the present moment. Toxic people often make us dwell on the past or worry about the future, trapping us in emotional loops. Through mindfulness, focus on the present moment and let go of ruminating thoughts. As the Buddha said, "Do not dwell in the past, do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment." By staying present, you stop yourself from being weighed down by others' negativity and are less likely to carry their burdens into your life. By practicing non-attachment, you create an emotional buffer that protects you from the turbulence of others' behavior. Instead of being pulled into their negativity, you stand firm in your peace. Remember, non-attachment isn't about indifference. It's about allowing things to be as they are without letting them disturb your inner calm. In conclusion, practicing mindfulness, cultivating compassion, setting compassionate boundaries, and embracing non-attachment are profound ways to shield yourself from negative energies and toxic people. These teachings allow you to maintain your peace, while also promoting kindness and compassion, both for yourself and for those around you. The more you practice these principles, the stronger your shield becomes and the more resilient you are in navigating life's challenges. As you walk this path, you'll find that your serenity no longer depends on external circumstances, but flows from the peace you cultivate within. Number 8. Cruelty. Cruelty is one of the clearest and most disturbing indicators of a person lost in negativity. It reveals itself through actions that aim to hurt, degrade, or cause suffering, and it often stems from deep-seated malice or unresolved pain. What is particularly alarming about cruelty is how it shows an utter disregard for life, often extending beyond humans to animals and other vulnerable beings. The Buddha taught the principle of ahimsa, non-violence, as a cornerstone of spiritual practice. Harming another, whether it's physical violence, emotional abuse, or even neglect, plants the seeds of negative karma. Just as a poisonous tree grows from a toxic seed, cruelty inevitably returns to those who perpetuate it. This cycle of harm reinforces their suffering, but this does not lessen the suffering they inflict upon others. Cruelty can wear many masks, some of them deceptively subtle. It can show up as direct physical harm, or it might take the form of biting sarcasm, passive-aggressive comments, or manipulative behavior that chips away at a person's sense of self-worth. In all its forms, cruelty stems from a place of darkness. Those who cause harm often do so because they are trapped in ignorance, not realizing they are perpetuating their own misery. However, their ignorance does not excuse their actions. A person who delights in the suffering of others, whether by word or deed, is disconnected from the light of compassion that binds us all. One of the most chilling aspects of cruelty is indifference. A cruel person may watch others suffer and feel nothing. No empathy, no guilt, no desire to alleviate the pain. They might even laugh or justify their actions by saying the victim deserved it. This lack of empathy reveals the core of cruelty, a profound absence of connection with the suffering of others. The Buddha taught that all living beings are interconnected, and to harm one is to harm the whole. When someone is indifferent to the suffering of animals, children, or the vulnerable, it reflects a deep callousness that can be a warning sign of greater harm to come. As Mahatma Gandhi wisely said, the greatness of a nation and its moral progress can be judged by the way its animals are treated. Those who are cruel to animals are often capable of even greater cruelty to people. In relationships, cruelty often results in deep emotional scars. The victim may feel powerless, belittled, and even dehumanized as the cruel person feeds off their pain. The Buddha's teachings on compassion emphasize that animals, too, deserve kindness and care, and cruelty toward them reveals a dangerous disregard for life itself. This is why, in many Buddhist teachings, cruelty to animals is seen as a warning sign, a precursor to cruelty towards people. Those who harm the defenseless are often disconnected from their own capacity for love and empathy. Recognizing cruelty can be difficult, especially when it's masked by charm or manipulation. But by paying close attention to how someone treats those less powerful than themselves, whether it be animals, children, or vulnerable individuals, you can gain a true understanding of their nature. Responding to cruelty is a challenge that requires both strength and wisdom. It may be tempting to retaliate, to respond to cruelty with cruelty. But the Buddha's path offers us a more enlightened approach. Instead of engaging in the cycle of harm, we are called to set clear boundaries and, where necessary, walk away. Protecting yourself from a person who delights in causing pain does not mean becoming like them. In fact, the best response is to lead by example, showing compassion even in the face of cruelty. Holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. The Buddha said, by choosing not to engage, you protect your own peace while refusing to add to the negativity. It is important to remember that while you can encourage someone toward greater compassion, it is not your responsibility to change them. Your primary responsibility is your own well-being. Surround yourself with kindness and choose compassion in every interaction. Just as a lotus grows beautifully even in the mud, so too can you rise above cruelty by staying rooted in love and kindness. Walk away from those who spread pain and focus on those who bring light to your life. Through compassion, you not only uplift yourself, but also contribute to a world where cruelty has no place. In the end, it is through love, not retaliation, that we find true peace.